How are you, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited for today's tea time.
Very cool day. Very cool day. Special guest.
Yeah. So everybody, thank you for joining us. I'm TQ. This is my brother JQ, talking to you from Tea Time at the Apothecary here at Merz Apothecary in Chicago. This is a show we do every Wednesday and Friday at noon, and we talk health, we talk tea, we talk wellness, we talk fun, cool topics, fragrance, beauty, you name it, skincare, everything that we love at the apothecary. And then we often interview really amazing guests. And today is a special one of those. We have Jan Vilhelm Ahlgren, founder and creator of Vilhelm Parfumerie. Uh, and he should be on with us any moment. There
Hey.
he is.
Hey,
Hey, Jan. Thank you
hello.
for hello. Thank you for joining us.
No, I'm happy to join you.
Yeah, we had talked briefly before this. You're in Paris right now, huh?
Yeah, I'm in Paris right now.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
It looks like you're in Paris. It looks very elegant where you are.
yeah. I try my best as well to keep my alert. L'allure.
Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you for joining us. And I'm excited to get into it and talk with you. Um, Before we do, I have to tell you, I had sort of I didn't realize you and I have this connection. I understand you are half Swedish, right?
Yeah, half Swedish, half American.
And last night, Ancestry DNA updated my DNA background, and I found out instead of being half South Asian, half German American, I am 5% Swedish.
Which means
So,
I am too.
yeah, so I feel like, you know, we're both part Swedish, we're both dashing and kind of glamorous. I think I kind of feel the strong connection with you. So I'm really excited for this interview today.
But I knew that from the minute when I saw you. I felt he must. There's a bit of Swede in that guy.
There's something going on.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great. So he's half Swedish, half American.
Yeah.
And where did you grow up, Jan?
I grew up in a very, very small town in Sweden. Nobody usually has not heard of it. It's called Hudiksvall. So that's where I grew up. And my mom, actually, she's from New York, and she met my dad while he was sailing in Greece in the 70s. And then my mom came from New York up to this tiny, tiny village, and then I was born.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Jan, what are we drinking today and why?
Well, today we are drinking some tea. I have a very small teacup. I drink it in a small teacup.
I like
I must
it.
admit, but yeah, I'm drinking
Right.
Earl Grey.
Is that your favorite? Are you a big tea drinker?
In periods. Yeah, not. It really varies. I've been to in a lot in a coffee phase lately, and then I always go into different phases. Then I can have a tea phase, and then I find my special tea. Then it's coffee. Then it's something. I was into Japanese different teas for a while, but now back to classic Earl Grey tea.
It sounds good. I like pretty much everything you've mentioned. Coffee, tea, it doesn't matter. But we generally on this show drink tea or some kind of not a true tea, but an herb as a tea, which is something that we like to talk about. So I'm also an explorer. Like I love Japanese teas and classic teas.
I understand your wife is a big tea drinker, yeah?
Well, I have to. My ex-wife was.
Ex-wife.
Yes, she was a big.
Nice, Jay.
Sorry, that's what I heard.
She was a big tea drinker. Yeah, and she still is. I'm sure she's a big tea drinker and she enjoys that. Absolutely,
cool.
yeah.
Cool.
But no hard feelings, so it's all good. So
No, it's funny. So I guess you started this luxury perfume brand, but I would say you're a man of the world, from my understanding, and just from your background. You're half Swedish, half New York, sort of sparked from a Greek sailing adventure. So already you start with a fairly cosmopolitan beginning before you were even born. How does one start a perfume brand. You know, we have a lot of fragrance lovers. It's something that it feels like when you see it, it feels already so concrete to me, and it's, you know, it's sort of expensive, and you're already looking at the beautiful bottles and the sprayers, but it's a lot of work. And I'm wondering how you came to this, you know, this point of having launched this amazing brand, which we'll jump into.
Well, I was at a point in my life, I was designing leather bags. I was going to design a luxury collection of leather bags, and I wanted to scent them. I wanted them to not only be recognized by its design, and I was also into the touch and feel of the bags. And also I wanted them to be recognized by a specific scent. And that's how I got into the world of perfume. And to do that, I had to, obviously, I had to get in contact with, you know, a perfume house. And then I became friends with a perfumer. And then when this happened, I totally fell in love. Like, I really felt like, okay, I'm home. This is where I should be. Because you can do anything. You know, you can create your own world. You know, I could invent, you know, in my head, I could take inspiration from the latest exhibition here, you know, and I could pretend that, you know, I see a woman drinking, you know, a tea. And then with the Francis Bacon exhibition, I could see some darkness, and then together with the tea, and then you have another one smoking cigarette, and that could then become like a fragrance inspiration. So you can live in your own universe when you're creating perfume. That's what I love about it.
That's so cool.
How long was it like experimenting before you were like, all right, I'm getting the hang of it? Like, I make music, and when I was making music, some of my favorite music I've made was early in my career, but it was sort of accidental. And now I make exactly what's in my head. And sometimes I miss the sort of, whoops, that's not supposed to go together. And then you're like, whoa, that's kind of magical, right? Do you still have those moments?
Mind, beginner's mind, as they say.
Yeah, I think an advantage I've always had, because I'm not coming from a perfume background. So I come from a way of, in the beginning, to totally, how do you say, think out of the box. So when I'm working with a perfumer, you know, I come with ideas that he's probably not used to having, or inspirations that he's not used to having. But I know exactly how I want it to smell. So it's a lot of tries and back and forth, but it's a real collaboration to get what I want it to smell like.
Yeah.
So you're art directing the fragrances, essentially, yeah?
You basically, I would say you're a fragrance director, so to speak. You know, every fragrance is based on fairy tale, or you know,
some story, yeah.
Yeah, some story, imagination, and yeah. So I would say that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I think, I would imagine, so when you did that, when you say you're creating it in your mind, do you get hands-on though, in terms of with your own, you know, do you have your own little potions, collect your fragrance collection, so that you can at least start to say, I'm thinking of something like this? Or are you operating purely on the sort of abstract vision, and then making that in collaboration you know, something actual?
Abstract, but yeah, totally. But then I am very hands-on, so I sit a lot. I am extremely time-consuming for a perfumer. I think they can find me a bit annoying, because I spend a lot of time with them, and because I enjoy it, you know, obviously. But for me to get it the way I want, I have to spend a lot of time with them. Yeah.
So where did the love of perfuming come from the beginning? When did you, I mean, obviously the handbags was how it became a thing, but were you always interested in scent?
Not particularly, no, not more than others, I think. I realized though, when I think of, like, when I travel to a place, or I usually think of it in a color where I go, or like in also a place also have a specific scent. I feel it's a color and a scent related to it. So I realized I think a lot like that, but I was not particularly into it. No.
All right.
Before.
Cool.
No.
Well, I think, you know, the reason I'm asking these particulars about your process is that Jay and I are brothers, and I'm more of an art. Like my wife is a graphic designer. I love design, but I'm more of the vision director person.
Yeah.
And Jay is a beat maker and producer, but he definitely gravitates towards everything hands-on, cooking, fragrance formulate. Not a perfumer, but like when we're making products, he loves like the getting his hands.
I like to
dirty,
tinker.
experimentation, tinker. And I'm more like I like to think about what do I want, and we make a good team in that way. But I was curious about how you fit in there.
So I think that's a little bit how I work with the perfumer, like,
Yeah. So if I recall, when I was reading some of the background, you are a jazz fan. Am I right?
Yeah. I grew up, my father and my but especially me, my father was a big jazz fan, so it was always jazz at home. I think Kind of Blue by Miles Davis was running around the clock, and
I've got it back there somewhere in that stack.
Yeah, probably, yeah. So I mean, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So I grew up with that, and yeah.
Do you have if I had to pick, maybe Kind of Blues one, but either favorite instrument, favorite artist, or a few favorite albums, can you give me some of your big influences or favorites that you dive into?
Obviously Miles, Davis, Kind of Blue, Sketches of Spain was also good. But also Chet Baker.
Yeah.
Some of his.
I think of his cool trumpet when I'm like. I've not spent much time in Paris in the past. It's been 20 some years, but I think that cool trumpet always makes me feel there's a Parisian vibe there where it's just like, I don't know, it's something really, that's my impression when I listen to Chet Baker.
Actually, it was just recently I had an idea of, I could imagine Chet Baker going to Cadaqués where Dali had his summer house, and I could see him in the garden playing, and then Dali is then painting to Baker's trumpet at the same. So, but I think he had the coolness and smoothness, to him. But then you also have, Charlie Parker and from before.
The hot side, right? That's cool. Yeah, I'm a huge jazz fan. So to me, I feel like I always think someday I'm going to start a show where I just talk about jazz for an hour and annoy my brother.
Who do you listen to at the moment?
I always switch around. I would say for me, Charlie Parker is a kind of like constant mainstay that I'm returning to. But if I had to pick, probably Monk is I love his sort of off-kilter piano, and piano is something to me that just, I love brass instruments. So like Coltrane is a favorite of mine, and both on kind of like a spiritual journey sense and just a musical sense. But when I want to soothe my soul, I almost always come back to piano. And I would say that Monk's Music is one of my favorite albums. And then the Bill Evans Sunday Live at the Village Vanguard is like, if I probably had to pick one album to listen to for the rest of my life, it's like, that's delightful to me. It makes me feel like everything is good and kind of there's infinite possibility.
I'm like, right now I'm kind of in the late summer, early fall. I'm feeling Cal Jader lately. Like that. Yeah, that just feels right now. It's just like, I love the vibraphone.
You create music yourself? You also create
Yeah, mostly hip hop and dance music. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm also coming at it from a I did not learn Western music. I don't know how to write music. It's all ear, So while I do like to get nitty and gritty and into it, I don't know. I don't know the the writing of it and the format of it.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about
how did you guys start your store, your adventure together? How did it start? Your store?
Well, sort of like you were born into this unique circumstance. We were born in. My dad is an Indian-born, Pakistani-raised man who came to Chicago at the age of 18. Met my mother in a hospital. She's a nurse, a German Chicago young woman at the time. They met, and my dad was like not feeling pharmacy. He didn't want to be a pill counter in a hospital or a chain pharmacy, and was going to get out of the business. And a family friend sort of asked him to go check out this old Swiss German apothecary that was on the north side of Chicago. And he was like, no, no. And she kept insisting. And he walked in and he said it was like he was struck dumb. In 20 minutes, he agreed to buy the place. It was 100, at the time, it was just shy of 100 years old. So this year we turned 140 years old. And so I was kind of born into it. Also said, I don't want to do that. Went to school on the East Coast, was living in New York, got involved in a web startup. And sort of as I realized the possibility for e-commerce, kind of kept saying to my dad, someone should make the e-commerce version of the apothecary. And he kept saying, you should, we should do it together. You should do it. And at some point I just realized that would be a fun adventure. And here I am 22 years later.
And our Pops is watching right now. So he says hi.
Hello.
Yeah. His name is Abdul. And
so, as the products expanded, it was mostly medicines and hard to find German creams and various, things that the old school Germans in this neighborhood wanted from the old country. And then when T took over the business and joined with my dad, then we started to expand more. My dad has a really good eye for candles and gifts, and and T does as well. And they started to expand, and then T loves fragrance, and so we went, and now like a quarter of the store is fragrance.
Yeah. No, but you have all the good brands. I saw. So congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, should we smell some?
Let's smell something. I think we have 2 to smell today. We're going to do what? We have black citrus.
I've got a few here. Yeah. Which
and 125th and bloom. And I'd love to hear some of the stories, but I also would ask, which one would you prefer to start with?
We can start with black citrus. It's fine.
Cool. So I want to show, for people who don't know, can I just start with, this is a different fragrance, but I grabbed one off of our display. Just to kind of show I'm a type junkie and a design junkie, and I have to say your boxes are especially pleasing to me. I love the fact that you made the type repeated, sort of the design element of the boxes, and kind of have this decorative feel, but it's all coming from the type. So kudos to you on that.
Each name makes the typo. So if you turn the box around, it will say room service. Because I wanted so you.
Isn't that cool?
When it's on a shelf, you don't just get a block. There's a slight variation to it, which grabs you in the subconsciousness.
That's very cool.
Totally. It's a little electric when you're scanning the shelves. I love it.
But I wanted a specific for my cap. I wanted a specific sound. I haven't gotten it yet, but I wanted to have a specific sound. So you would travel to luxury without, I didn't get it yet.
I'm going to watch the evolution as we form our relationship and get into it. I'm gonna keep on listening to the cap sound now.
Yeah, you should. But also the pattern was it's based on the hieroglyphs, where in Egypt that's where you find the first perfume. So that's why I based it from that.
That's really cool. All right, so I'm getting my little my strip ready. All right, so this is black citrus. You maybe want to, should we smell first and then we can talk about the story, or how do you prefer to do it?
I can talk about the story while you are smelling. I have to fix one. Sorry.
No worries.
So the story of this one is that I've always been extremely Rudolf Nureyev is an iconic male ballet dancer, probably the best that's ever been.
Yeah.
And this is capturing him. And I got the idea when I was in London. I had watched a documentary about him, and he had all these different to his personality. He was so incredibly charismatic. He had a very dark side. He had an extreme sex appeal. He had everything in one, all the different facets. And I wanted to capture this. And for me, maybe because of, marketing or whatever, I always first of all thought of citrus as a citrus fragrance, something more for athletes or sporty.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a citrus that captured all his personality. So I would say it's a gothic citrus.
Yeah. No, I can tell. First of all, I'm glad you said it, but I would have said it if you didn't. This is sexy. This is a sexy fragrance.
I think this is my new fragrance. I'm obsessed with this.
Yeah,
This is great.
I've smelled this and worn it before, and
Oh,
this is sensuous. It's mysterious, and
it's got a great spice to it, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard. Words get so overused, especially in marketing. But I would say, like, the word that pops to my head, I love words, and alluring is really kind of, take away the marketing and like whatever. It's just an alluring fragrance. It really envelops me and pulls me in. Oh,
and you should leave it on because it evolves beautifully, and you feel now probably the cardamom and the bergamot,
Cardamom, that's what it is. I was getting like a chai thing, like a little chai.
yeah. You can't talk to half South Asian kids about anything cardamom without us sort of getting a little too excited.
Yeah, it's like that's like that's such a homey scent for us because it's in our rice, it's in our tea, it's in everything,
And then you have the matte leaves, you have later on, and you have also, there's a lot of vetiver to it as well.
That gives it a little smoke kind of, yeah.
So that you will feel more and more later on. But I mean,
Oh.
as a citrus, it's so interesting, and I love it that it has such a strong back to it. And it will stay on you, and you can carry it the full day. And people, it's a different citrus fragrance. You should, and I'm not just saying that to sort of. Yeah.
We're here to talk about you. No, people should try it on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Part of what we say, part of what we, our goal is always like, we're different than a lot of the traditional. I grew up, sort of fell in love with fragrance, but had to convince my parents to take me to a department store, and then I would save up money to buy something that was expensive. But it always struck me as odd, even as a kid, that I essentially was being battled for. Like once they realized I was there to buy something, it's like I walk in with my family. It was like the counters battle. And I feel like part of my goal in covering fragrance was to say, like, let's take it out of even the luxury department store where each group of brands or brand has their own person battling for you, and let's just become your ally in discovering something amazing. Right. So I'm always preaching the gospel of let's sniff things, and then let's get to a couple, 2, 3, whatever, but let's try to get to 2 and get them on your skin and let you live with them. Like, I don't care about selling you today. I want you to love it, because I know if you love it, you're going to come back. I know if you love the first thing, you're going to come back next time you're ready for something, or you're going to bring your friends. So to me, it's all about like the joy of discovery and get it on your skin, right?
Yeah.
If you don't like it, you can wash it off.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think the strength, where I feel what I feel is strong with Vilhelm is we have so many. What do you say in English? I haven't spoken it in a while. Like you sell it and then they come back. Revisiting customer. No, how do you say
repeat business? Like you have, sort of. Replenishment is the word.
Okay, that's the word I was looking for. It sounds good. So, so that makes me feel confident. Also, that people, it's not only good in the top note. You can really feel how worked through they are, all the stages of the perfume, and yeah. Yeah.
Well, this one, I've worn it a number of times. I do recommend that people try it, and I think that there is like this challenge with a citrus. Often, even some of the ones that get a little moodier, citrus tends to be something that is hard to kind of capture and maintain an essence over time, right? Like our feeling is like citrus fragrances, they tend to be like, the colognes are often citrusy, but they don't last a long time. And one of the things that I'm excited about this fragrance is it does last, it does feel big, it does have this big backbone.
Yeah.
But it's still
I'm gonna be wearing this for the next few days, and I'm really in love with you. Put my two favorite things together, cardamom and citrus. So I'm in.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely.
And as it's getting colder, I don't want to stop using a citrusy scent. I want to, but I want to go with the season a little, you know?
Yeah.
And actually, people forget citrus is a winter fruit, actually.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Little shout out to California right now is having some problems, but we, our parents spend the winters in Palm Springs, so we're lucky enough to get out there. So to me, that's the winter is that's.
How is Palm Springs? Because I always wanted to go. Is that's like where the 50s where you had like
it's amazing. It's amazing.
As a cosmopolitan guy, you will lose your mind. Like go during Modernism Week and go see the houses built into the side of a mountain that are like everything. There's no movable furniture. It's like, so I've been to some of these places where the designers in the 50s built these things where everything is built in, and it's their little jewel box masterpieces. They're amazing. I love it.
I could really see like Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra and all of them just throwing a party, and it would be love to just stop in and say, I mean, they're not with us, obviously, but I mean, that's I would love to go there once. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should meet there in like matching sort of like short pant jumpers. You know what I mean? Like the old school. Like we'll hang out by the pool, drink a martini.
Good. We'll have martinis and be bad at golf. It'll be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a plan. It's a plan.
Yeah, it's a plan. But who knows? We might, we should do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm serious. Let's do it. That would be awesome.
I think it sounds great,
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, just to dive into the sort of pandemic situation as a guy who loves to travel, how are you handling that? Because you found your way to Paris. My feeling is we are going to have to find ways to sort of like manage the risks with the benefits that we need. And like, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to go without sort of getting a greater degree of travel in my life. So we're going to have to find ways of meeting places and hopefully doing that safely, but like getting a little more travel than at least here in the States, many of us are used to right now.
But I think what happened, I think for most people, I mean, obviously it's so tragic, for anybody who, has had anybody close to them that has been exposed or has passed away or but other than that, that's of course extremely sad. But what I felt with this pandemic was that an enormous amount of gratitude. And you also realize how extremely fortunate you have been. And I'm also just in my lifestyle, how I've lived, like how you take it for granted, all these travels, all these visits, and all how you live life. So for me, I try to turn it into something positive and just also how basically I felt how spoiled we are.
Yeah, no, you're right.
We take for granted so that's what I take from it. And I've actually enjoyed to not travel so much and not chase the next thing or sort of getting these small highs, with just always visiting new places and you have to be there, you should go there and so I've really enjoyed it a lot, to actually be home with my family and so it was a good break.
Some of the simpler, deeper pleasures have come to the fore in this time, right?
Absolutely, and
Well, and I think that you brought up something. One of the reasons why I was excited that you were going to come on here and why I love your fragrances, and I would say fragrance in general, but I think you allude to it because of your inspiration, is that at a time where I'm not traveling as much, I'm able to travel through experiencing scent, right? I think the next one we're going to cover is one of those where it's a particular place. Am I right? 125th and Bloom. there's a place that this is about. And, you know, that's when scent is so closely related with memory. I think we can do a lot of traveling in our little, at our desk, in our bedroom, with our friends, smelling things, right?
And I think it's also good to actually, because me too, I mean, we're all so much living in our phone and other things, and to actually drop that and to really use your mind. I mean, it's an incredible tool, and you can make your own journeys, just like you say, and
Yeah.
let your imagination go. And it's also good sometimes to get bored, because we're not
That's when awesome moments of creativity happen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
when you were a kid and you got bored, and today, you know, because
I'm boredom is extremely underrated, especially for kids. You know, I have two teenage daughters, and I feel like part of my challenge is take away your damn phone sometimes, because you're not bored enough. Even what you think is bored is not actually bored, and you need to like dive inward sometimes. I remember I spent a lot of my life as a kid diving into here, and it was rich times, you know?
No, absolutely. I remember I was at the British Fashion Awards, and I realized, and there were some great artists also performing, and I just realized looking around, you know, the audience and everybody's just filming the event. They're actually not listening to it. And I captured myself also doing it, you know, and I am trying now. That was a little bit of a wake-up call for me, and also now to really, when I walk in places, I try to not be in my phone. I try to look at things, to see people, meet people, see the buildings, see the beautiful things, and not just the end goal. I mean, really take pleasure in. So I think this whole thing that's been now with the COVID, I've tried to use it to something positive, and it's made me grow, actually, or to appreciate things a lot more.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well said. So let's smell 125th and Bloom, can we? And so you're half New Yorker, right? At least by blood or by birth.
Yeah, I actually wish my mom spoke more English to me when I was little, so I would have that New York. So I lived, you know, and I lived in Harlem, and for me, Harlem has such a soul, and obviously being a jazz fan, it was the place where I wanted to be. And I mean, I really, really love Harlem, and it is for the soul. And I love, you know, the gardens in Harlem. I love the people sitting there, and they really, you know, people sit on the stoop. I think that's what you call it, on the stairs.
Yeah, on the stoop. Yeah.
Walk and
stoop culture is. Yeah. Stoop culture in New York that's outdoor life, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I loved it, and I really, really like Harlem. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so
it's cool.
It's a tribute to Harlem. It really is. I try to capture the unique soul that it has, and has a deep-rooted soul, and that's why it is a very, very deep fragrance.
It is
very deep.
There's simultaneously, like this, to me at least, when I, you know, not talking about notes, but just my sensation is, you get the garden and the floral, but then there's this kind of like city burning alive kind of scent underneath it. Like, what's all this stuff going on underneath underneath this wafts of flowers? There's a lot happening.
There's definitely some dust in there, you know. It like, you know, when you walk around New York and you just, even for a little while, and then you come back, you're like, I'm covered in dust, you know.
Jay and I spent our much of our 20s and young age in Lower Manhattan, so we're Alphabet City kids. Was our stomping ground in the 90s, and for Jay, early 2000s, you know.
Oh wow! I lived, when I first came, I lived on 10th Street and B. I think it was 10.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we were on 6th between B and C.
Really? Yeah. So that's where I first, and then I moved up to Harlem. Yeah, actually ended up living 132nd in the end.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
but you can feel it's sort of you have a lot of agar wood. Obviously, I'm not going to get into the.
Yeah, we don't care about
right
them.
with the flower. There's a lot of rose in it as well.
Yeah,
But
what was the picture in your head? Because you said it's an art direction style thing. What's happening in the scene?
well, this is you're out in your garden in Harlem, and you're obviously listening to a jazz record playing. You're outside and you're having a barbecue. There's a lot of roses in the garden. You know, people are discussing. You have the whole ambience. It's sort of early spring. You know, when spring sort of like hit. You know, the first day of spring, when you can see people. You can just see it in people's eyes that something, the winter is over, let's go out, but you still have that bit of, it's still a bit cold, you have the rawness and you have, so this was the imagination that I have. But it really also to capture Harlem for its deep rooted, where I feel the soul of it. So that's why I want it to be so deep.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful fragrance.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm very happy about it.
It turned out so well. That duskiness of the rose is such a great mix between kind of the garden element and the sort of soulful, darker side of it. It's really awesome.
I'm glad
I love it.
It will perform. I'm pretty sure it's one of them. It performs very well. So
I guess it's been, I'm trying to, right now time passes so strangely. So remind me, how far are you into the American launch? And then it's been not that long, couple months, right?
It's a couple. I mean, we were very long time. I launched in Barney's, and then sadly it closed down. And then so now we have relaunched, again and open up with a great partner in the US, a distributor who's now taking care of my brand over there that I'm very, I feel very, very happy about, and we have great plans for the future, and so we're just starting the relaunch, and we have some new exciting openings coming as well, and I feel thrilled about it. And obviously it's Vilhelm Parfumerie in New York, so for me it's very important to have the presence in the US. And in the beginning, I was all alone, and I was a small company, and so it was perfect for me to start at Barney's. Now we are obviously a bigger team, and I think we're 12 people here now in Paris.
Awesome.
In the office, and so we're really in a stage of where it's growing, and we're opening up our first boutique now also.
Oh, cool.
So the brief is, it's Pierre Cardin takes a spaceship journey that starts in the 1920s and then he goes forward. So that's the
I love it.
I love your visions are so fully formed and so tactile. I'm already getting pictures. Great.
Can we talk about the bottle design for a second?
Yeah.
I just want to they're beautiful, and you've, in a time where everyone's doing very clean, everything is so clean, you've managed to harness a bit of that feels nice and clean in terms of the label and the font and the cap, but the glass of the actual bottle is not the super clean lines. It's this crystal, and it reminds me of my grandmother's fancy cabinet. And where did that come from? Where were you like, oh, I've got it? When was that moment?
Well, what I always do in the brand, I take a lot of inspiration actually from the 1920s, which also and I believe that when you do design, I briefed the designer, which was Pierre Dinan, that I wanted something that was new. I wanted to be low with a yellow cap. With the yellow is the color I wanted. And then I wanted this vintage element to it. So it would make you think of the past, but also something that felt new and fresh. And I think good design for me, people approach it when they feel some kind of familiarity, it's been around, but yet it's new. And that gives people confidence in a funny way. If it's too new, we stay away almost. And so I wanted to give this feeling of vintage and new at the same time. And that's how I work with almost everything that I do in terms of, yeah.
It's
Oh,
great.
well done. I think you nailed that.
Yeah.
And we're huge fans. Our whole team here is, we have a fragrance crew here that is obsessive, and you have a prime spot in our apothecary in the fragrance boutique, and you're sort of like, you're the most art directed. It's like it's the jam right now when you walk in.
Yeah, they've got like, yellow everywhere. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
We had Greta's friend is getting married. She was supposed to get married, a big wedding on the East Coast, and now it's a small celebration in Chicago. But she wanted a new fragrance for her wedding, and she went into the apothecary for a fragrance consult, and came out with one of yours. So,
well,
that's
very nice.
Ours, but it does have that feeling of.
He ended up with Dear Polly, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it's a great, and that brings you back to tea. It was based on the tea, so
yeah, that's awesome. Hey, so I think we would be remiss if we didn't sort of talk about that there's a fragrance coming out soon that relates to our city.
It's Chicago High.
Yeah. We're going to have you back on. I hope you know that you signed up for a 2-part commitment.
Absolutely. So Chicago High is, as I said, actually, when my fragrances in the creation part, I want them to be old but also new. So I like them. That's why they have such a strong back. But I also like you overdose and a single ingredient that gives that sort of kick and freshness. But here in this fragrance, Chicago High, I want you to be taken back to the 1920s. So that you're back. So that's when you had iconic launches like Shalimar, Mitsuko, Chanel No. 5, all these great fragrances. And also the 20s, it was really, everything was possible. I mean, our humans, we had this very positive mindset. The stock market was, booming. Everything was. It
was roaring, as they say.
It was roaring 20s.
Yeah.
And you had Chicago, where it was really happening, and then you had another fellow over there in New York, Mr. Gatsby.
Yeah.
Who I think I'm sure he had a mansion in Chicago as well. Yeah. And I imagined a party at the J. Gatsby mansion, but it's the spirit of Chicago, the Chicago High, that I call this fragrance. And so I try to capture really what I imagined the 1920s would smell like.
I cannot wait. Let's give our, they call us the second city. I love Chicago. We're huge Chicago boosters. We were born here. But I would say Chicago doesn't get a lot of perfume love. It's not the city that people are often naming fragrances after. So I want to thank you on behalf of Chicago for shining a little fragrance spotlight on our city, even in advance of smelling it. So.
Okay, but the Art Deco, you had the build, there's a lot of buildings, Art Deco buildings from there. So I've only been to Chicago O'Hare. I've then seen obviously a lot of photos, but I would like to go. I would love to go to Chicago.
Well, so now we have 2 plans we're going to make with you. One is meeting in Palm Springs to chill out among the orange blossoms, and then the other one is once it's doable, you come to Chicago and let's go to our favorite speakeasy, the Green Mill, where we will listen to some serious jazz and have a touch of that old Chicago.
This was Al Capone's old bar.
And this was his old bar. Okay.
And now it's like one of the best jazz clubs in the city. So,
yeah. Oh,
that's a magical little place. It's like it's not like jazz club in the way that it can sometimes feel now, like there's a cover charge. It's like this
grimy
piano behind the bar. There's still they say a tunnel underneath the piano is how they used to escape from law enforcement into the sewers to get out to other places in Chicago, going to buildings across the street. Yeah, it's a cool place.
Oh, okay. No, well, I would love to go, and I mean that. Yeah, absolutely. I would love. I would really enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do. Let's make it happen with an event. We've been lucky enough. We've had some really great perfumers and founders come through our
Yeah.
apothecary and do live appearances, and we've had phenomenal turnout. We'd love to add you to that list and then celebrate at the Green Mill together.
That would be great. And we should get Marcus. He's been on our show, and he's the trumpet
Our
player.
friend Marcus, yeah.
He was the trumpet player in the Count Basie Orchestra. So,
Okay.
and so we'll get him at that event. That would be a cool
That
blend.
would be great. That would be fantastic. Well, you already sold it, so
Yeah.
once, yeah, absolutely. So I can't wait to get back and yeah.
Cool. Hey, as we kind of wrap up, I want to ask you, so do you have any kind of like, how are you taking care of yourself? Can you give us like, is there any sort of wellness or personal well-being, like sort of routine or must have, or whether it's product, a practice? What's your secret to staying young and excited about the world, you know?
I think I am blessed with quite. I come from a very positive home, so I think I've always had a positive, light spirit. You know, not all the time, but most of the time I'm curious and I enjoy life. So I think that's a bit of luck there. How I stay, in terms of, I mean, nothing. I eat quite very healthy. I have become vegan recently, which could also be a phase. I don't know. I hope not, but I feel it feels great.
Is that difficult in Paris?
Yeah, it is a bit. Yeah, that's probably why I did it, because I love a challenge. You know, I think it's nice. But I felt that's been an interesting journey, and it's been. I really feel great. Yeah,
cool.
Doing it. So I think that, and I tend to walk everywhere. I love walking. I would say that's probably what I do. I always walk.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a great sort of meditation for me. I don't do any yoga or nothing like that, but I walk a lot.
You know,
that's
humans
great.
are meant to walk, right? And it's like I said, humans are meant to walk. We're meant to walk.
Yeah, we were born with feet, not wheels. You know?
Yeah. No, and I love walking. It's really it's good for my head, and it's meditative for me too. So
I couldn't agree more. T walks to work, and I just took a long walk today, and much longer. Most people would have driven the distance that I walked today, and I love it. It actually, because you're walking, you have to navigate. You can't look at your phone.
No,
you have to look out, and people watching is maybe the best part of being alive.
No, really. So
yesterday I walked out of my house on my way to work. I'm still so excited about this, and I live in Chicago, but in a neighborhood, not downtown. But I walked out. I started to cross the street, and there was a snapping turtle. I live along the Chicago River. There was a snapping turtle this big in the street. I probably would have run over it with my car if I'd pulled out of water. But instead, I got to experience this amazing little dinosaur, rescue it, and let it go down at the river. And I feel like I'm going to be smiling about that for like the next 3 weeks. It was cool. So the power of walking.
In New York, people walk a lot in New York. When I live there, I don't know.
Walk fast too.
They walk very, very, very fast. Extremely fast. Everything is fast.
Yeah, 120 to 125 beats per minute. If you're looking for music to walk in New York to, has to be at least 120 beats per minute. That is the New York walking pace.
Yeah, but I felt that when I came here and I was waiting for stuff, I could feel that I was used to a different tempo after living there so long.
Relax. You don't have to rush. It's hard when it's so crowded in New York. You have to put your blinders on, and you're kind of like scanning when the lights are blinking so that you never have to stop, you know? And you're always snaking your way there, you know?
But I love I also miss the tempo of it. There's
Me too,
it's nice to get away and to get back, you know?
Yeah, it's electric. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Jan,
thank you so much for coming on. It was great talking to you.
we
Thank
will.
you.
We're going to link up your site, and the lights go out.
Lights go out. Perfect.
Yeah. On that note, we will link up your site. We're going to link up all of your fragrances within our site, so people who want to try it. And what I'll say is, every one of your fragrances, if you are not in Chicago and can't stop in and see it, but you're curious about what you've heard about today, we have samples available, so you can buy it, you can test, and then go buy the fragrance that you want. So pick up the set, figure and try it for a couple days, and then get the one that's going to be best on your skin if you're not near a store that you can go and smell in person. So it's something we love to do. Jan will be happy, we'll be happy, and you will be extremely happy discovering a Vilhelm fragrance, I'm sure. So Jan, thank you for joining us. We have
Black citrus. Here I go. I'm going on the skin.
Until Palm Springs and until Chicago, or until Chicago High, we'll have you back on and we'll smell it together.
Absolutely. I hope to meet you both guys in person.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother. It was so nice to talk to you, and stay safe, and thanks for spending part of your Friday night in Paris with us.
Yeah.
No, but stay safe as well. Take care.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.